Hello everyone, my name is Kirsi Hakio and I co-authored this paper with Markéta Dolejšová, Tuuli Mattelmäki, Choi, and Cristina Ampatzidou. And the title is Following Seals and Dogs, Experimenting with Personal Dimensions of Transformative Design. But first, we would like to start by paying our respect to the land, Mother Earth, our home, and all the sea creatures, forest creatures, and more than human nature that coexist with us, and who really are the custodians of these places where we have conducted our research. Yes, in this exploratory paper, we were interested in understanding better how personal transformations can be taken into account in participatory design, but also in the larger context of eco-social change. What it looks like, what it feels like, how it could be captured and fostered. So we present two autoethnographic accounts of two experimental case studies. First, the Baltic Sea Lab study that was conducted in a zoological station in southern Finland. And the second case, the open forest walks conducted in central Bohemia, Czech Republic. Now, both of these cases were developed with an ongoing research project called Crises that explores the transformative potential of creative practices. So by examining our experience as participatory practitioners, we wanted to better understand how can we become more attentive and attuned to our inner transformations that occur in implicit, subjective, and very private worlds. And also how these personal first-hand experiences might contribute towards larger eco-social change. Yes, the first experiment, Baltic Sea Lab, comes from Tuuli's reflections. So it is an experiment that is part of an ongoing series of workshops aiming to advance ocean literacy through creative practice and also promote sustainable change within marine ecosystems. It brought together creative practitioners, design researchers, and natural scientists for a two-day gathering in the zoological station to explore the local ecosystems and discuss diverse approaches to sea health. Now, this meant in practice learning about the local ecosystems, but also more direct engagement with the surroundings, including swimming, diving, collecting samples, and co-creating embodied connections to the ecosystem, as well as planning sessions. For example, in this picture, you can see how we prototyped and experimented with writing ocean confessions with seawater. Ocean confessions is an eco-ritual that invites people to reconnect better with the ocean. So during these days, in several sessions, we also shared our concerns and reflections. One of the participants told a tale of a mythological creature called Selkie, which is both a human and a seal. So in a nutshell, the story goes that during the full moon, Selkies shed their skin and come up to dance on the seashores. By leaving their skin behind, they are able to transform into another being. You can read more about the tale from the paper, but the story inspired us to play with identities and nurtured us also to observe the world from a completely shifted perspective. And as you can see in the picture, it also encouraged us to engage in embodied experiment of floating in the water with diving gear and feeling like a seal. Tuuli reports that later seeing a full moon by the seashore has brought these dancing Selkies back as a reminder of the gathering and the really strong individual and collective experience. However, the most powerful transpersonal transformative insights to the gathering relate to the gathering itself. So what felt like random encounters with nature and other humans, the stories and different ways of making and being and knowing, really opened an unexpected space for emotional experiences and self-reflection. It also offered an opportunity to acknowledge uncertainty and instead of fearing, dive in, let go, and make oneself both vulnerable and open the float in the stream of experiences and take action towards change. So to pass on the personal transformative experience, we have repeated the story of the Selkies over and over with friends and relatives, and also spiced the stories with learned facts about the Baltic Sea health. Second experiment, the open forest walks, comes from Markéta's reflections. So it's a case, open forest is a part of an ongoing series of experimental walks through various forest patches that are guided by diverse human and non-human navigators. In this case, we have walked through a protected forest area in central Bohemia, guided by Choi, here in the picture, a dog with rich sensorial knowledge of the local landscapes. So we followed Choi without a map on a regular basis. Let him decide where he wants to walk, which meant that we simply walk with and wait for what will come on our way. The point is to see what we can learn as humans if we give up on our control over our movements through time and space and try to attune the rhythms and interests of a non-human creature. We have indeed discovered new layers of the modern human forest life through our walks that were not known to us before, and we really invite you to read them in our paper. Both cases opened an unexpected space for self-reflection, looking at and into ourselves, our day-to-day life, the schedules, the values guiding our daily decisions, from a somewhat distant perspective. For example, learning from the perspective of a dog to unlearn our usual ways of doing about the day and going about the day. Open forest case was much less structured, open to a wide range of human and other than human participants with an intention for experiential, multisensory learning enabled by shifting of power and moving together through multiple worlds of a forest. So in relevance to self-transformation in participatory design, the following three observations emerged from our reflections on these two cases. First, letting go to invite randomness. Also, trusting the emergence and shifting perspectives. For example, following and letting the more than human other, may it be real or imaginary, guide you and lead the way. In this context, we want to highlight the importance of noticing small events that might seem subtle and mundane at first, but upon reflection become critical in contributing to personal transformations. Small, incremental changes can be crucial to large-scale transformations. In systemic change, it cannot happen on its own, and so we argue that every mindful step counts. In this sense, self-reflective actions that feed the sense of meaningful inner change are important, like we shown every seal-inspired dive in the sea, every forest walk attuning us to local ecosystems. They really count. The two experiments also showed how inner personal transformation can occur in diverse situations and contexts, triggered and amplified by elements of spontaneity, open-endedness, emergence, and deliberate letting go of control in our various roles, for example, designers, researchers, and humans. These elements can help us to understand and raise further questions about how transformation from within may take place and how they can be better recognized and fostered and nurtured in participatory design. So the paper is of course limited by a small scope of examples, but we really hope that this contribution provides a small step towards hopeful change. So thank you very much, and we are very much looking forward to further discussions. Thank you.